Hello, everybody, and good evening to all of you. Welcome to yet another session of films online, TFO for short. TFO is a group of film scholars, researchers, students, and anyone passionate about cinema. Professor Nikhila and myself had started it during the lockdown in June 2020. Ever since, we have been having uninterruptedly sessions on every Saturday at 9 p.m. During some of our discussions, we have been joined by filmmakers such as Aparna Sen, Adur Gopalakrishnan, Girish Kasarwalli, and so on. This evening's film was suggested to us by Fabienne Le Houerou, and she will also initiate the discussion on Kumar Shahani's Maya Darpan. Fabienne recently retired as research director at CNRS. She is also a French filmmaker. She studied history of international relations at the Pantheon Sorbonne and at the Institute of Oriental Languages in 1982 to 1988 in Paris. She studied Swahili and became a doctor in history at science in 1989. After her PhD, she became researcher at CNRS in 1995, the French National Center for Scientific Research, and research director in 2015. Her academic field is contemporary history, visual anthropology, and the themes that she studies are migrations, globalization, and so on. She has written 13 books in social science, 4 novels, and has made 11 documentary films. She is currently preparing a publication on circulatory writings, exploring artistic and scientific complementary writings. Currently, she edits Science and Video, a Sciences Review, as of a publishing collection, Monde en Mouvement, at Lamartine Editions in Paris. She has used film as a methodological tool for social science research in history and anthropology. Welcome to you, Fabienne, and over to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Gita. Thank you, Nikhila. Thank you, all the group, for Talking Films Online, for giving me the opportunity to speak about Shahani and Maya Darpan. So, for me, Maya Darpan could be an example of a male Indian director expressing a female gaze. So today I will speak, of course, of Maya Darpan, a film released in 1972, and exploring a particular angle of this movie. Kumar Shahani shows in this film a very singular and original empathy for women, especially when we think about the historical context of the 70s in India and in other parts of the world concerning women's rights and social conditions. This original gaze of Kumar Shahani is questioning the possibility of male directors to manifest a female gaze, a particular way to look at women and to represent them in cinema. So, according to Laura Mulvey, that I will cite a lot in this presentation, she has written a famous article in 1975 called The Male Gaze. That article is a key article about the feminist theory in cinema. Filmmakers, according to her, of course, have historically depicted women in the visual arts and in literature from a masculine perspective that presents women as sexual objects for the pleasure of the male viewer. In visual and aesthetic presentation of narrative cinema, the male gaze analyzes the representation of women as passive objects to be seen in advertising nude subjects in European arts. I wish I could also have my PowerPoint presentation, because if I have the PowerPoint presentation, then I can show you the picture that proves my question and my theory on male gaze and female gaze. So insisting.
Fabienne, if you could, sorry to interrupt, Fabienne, if you could just give a minute, Madhurima will start your PowerPoint.
Yeah. Yeah, you can go to number 2. Yeah. So insisting on woman nudity and sexualizing the body is emblematic to this Western male gaze. Here I want to demonstrate that Kumar Shahani, in his way to frame the body of the young actress in Maya Darpan, shows absolute respect on women and does not insist on framing what Hollywood industry, for example, is fond of. Hollywood showing sexy young passive blonde woman like in Howard Hawks' comedy Gentleman Prefers Blondes, with Marilyn Monroe as passive objects. Kumar Shahani is also offering a gaze opposed to Bollywood classical ways of showing dancing women in subjective choreographies. As an independent filmmaker, he has his own sight and own view in depicting patriarchy. Female, we can go to the third. Female solitude with sensible, thoughtful scenario with a great economy of useless ornaments. It could be considered a real heir of the French New Wave in the 60s, who defended the idea of making films with little means, non-expensive films looking at the industry with bold ideas of economy. Maya Darpan takes place in one house, and the scenario is simple. It's an example of sobriety, showing that needless to have thousands of cinema sets to create a masterpiece. Shahani was conscious of defending austerity in cinema, like the French New Wave. He definitely was a 68er. We call a 68er a person resident in Europe and participating in the left upsurge that shook that continent in the late 60s and reached its climax in May 68 in Paris. In May 68 in Paris, this huge movement was about to overthrow the government. So it was something very important in the moment that Shahani was in France. And I think it's important because he was working there with the French film director Robert Bresson. After graduating from the Pune Film Institute, where he had come under the influence of Ritwik Ghatak, he had the French government scholarship and he moved to France to further his studies at the Institut des Hautes Études Cinématographiques, IDEC, and assisted Robert Bresson in a film Une Femme Douce, which means a soft woman. And Shahani also considered Roberto Rossellini and Robert Bresson as major influences on his work and those whom he learns the most. And he said something very interesting. Shahani said that there is austerity in Bresson. And thanks to Shahani, I reviewed all the Bresson films for this session. Of course, I knew Bresson from long ago. He was born in the beginning of the 20th century, and he made lots of films, and is one of the best French filmmaker of all time. So because of this session, I went to see the old Bresson film, and of course, there is a lot of connection between Bresson poetry and austerity and the Shahani sensibility. And Shahani said that there is austerity in Bresson. This is a Shahani citation. I'm citing Shahani. There is austerity in Bresson, but there is a possibility in cinema to have both austerity and ornamentation. In Bresson, there is mainly austerity, even though he aspires to have spectacle. When I work along those lines, I want the ornamentation to stand out. The magic of that reality must appear, and we ought to allow that to happen. The notion of ornamentation that we have in India, the alankar, of how we play with it, that is something I like to return in my work. And this is not this is not there either in Rossellini's work or Bresson work, because they are Catholic filmmaker. When they move towards austerity, they really move towards it. Bresson in the tradition of Saint Augustine, and Rossellini more in the manner of notional narratives. I think this citation is very important. There is connection of Bresson style in Maya Darpan, related, of course, to austerity. So I will talk about 4 points. I will stress on 4 points. So if we can go, yes, influence. So the 4 points is filming solitude and depression on Maya Darpan, of course. Filming solitude and depression. Second point, filming patriarchal fear of the father, fear of the figure of the father. Third point, filming gender injustice and gender equality. And 4 point, aesthetic sobriety. Yeah, if you can go on the 13 axis of analysis, yeah. Sorry, someone else is showing the PowerPoint. That's where we are not in rhythm. So these 4 axes of analysis is the 4 points that I've noted in Maya Darpan, with a special human modesty that I would qualify as a female gaze, Shahani modesty, a way of filming the subject with entire dignity as a full human. At last, I will analyze his aesthetic sobriety, coupled with a genius sense of colors, because for me, Shahani has a genius sense of colors. And with this ornament he was talking about, Indian ornamentation, having both sobriety and ornamentation, his talents of colorist, highlighting the multiple links between cinema and painting. So to me, Kumar was a painter, a poet, a musician, and a director. So my first point is solitude. We can go, yeah, human solitude. The first image of Maya Darpan are shown in a musical bass of a soft and sad melody, driving us in an elegant white house. the first minutes of the film, we are in this house. The first images of that house are the line of the floor, an original introduction, which is quite unexpected in a film as entrée en matière, as an introduction. But the first 10 minutes of Maya Darpan are exploring a beautiful White House, sober and classical, with simple but wooden expensive furniture. Everything is white, and the first woman character appears as a figure at her backside, all dressed in white. During the 5 first minutes, the camera is searching for the inner space of the house, insisting on a set of speaking details. He sets his scene and aesthetic with no mannerism, not too many colors, no glitters, no glamorous points, no shining, gloomy details, no golden mirrors or armchairs, but simple bamboo chairs on the veranda, straight lines of corridors, no convoluted frills, but pure harmony of a huge palace. The owner is a sahib, a diwan sahib. Traditionally, sahib are leader of the Muslim community and honorable notables. Later, we will be informed in the film that the owner of the house is the only Hindu man in a Muslim community. The female central character appears 5 minutes lying in bed during the day on a red sari. She's wearing a red sari. We can go on 12.
Yeah, I have changed it.
12. Yeah. On image 12, yes, solitude. So the female central, the female central character, Taran, appears after 5 minutes lying in a bed. We can see the image, image 13. Yeah. Image 13, yeah. Taran is a young woman lost in solitude. And the poem cited in the movie gets up in a bass of bird songs. There are a lot of bird songs in the film. Pigeon, crows, sparrow. No. 13. Image 13. Yeah. We can see her in a red sari. Pigeon, crow, sparrow, but also baits will be heard. The film is showing this progress by filming Taran repeating the same useless gesture. She takes away the dust of the bamboo armchairs of the veranda during 3 times in the film, with no means, because all material duties are fulfilled by her aunt. The railway is also an image which translates with images the desire of escaping a situation. The railway is very important in the film. It's coming in 3 or 4 scenes. Many exterior scenes are taken by the railway, and the noise of the train whistling is an invitation of voyage, a call from the outside that Taran is expecting, because Taran expects to go away and visit her brother in Assam. But she is reluctant to leave her father, who shows signs of disease. She is showing her concern in the film toward her father, and the idea of sacrifice comes very quickly in the narrative strategy, which let us reach the second point, embracing the theme of patriarchal fear. Patriarchal fear. Did you get it? No, 15, 16, must be 16.
This one?
Yeah, but maybe. It could be called fear of the father figure or respect of the father figure. The social order of the family is very clearly expressed with no ambiguity. Women are here to serve. The sister of the owner is filmed squatting in a small kitchen, completely devoted to her housework, dressed in white. So here we have the red sari. Sometimes she's dressed in white and sometimes she is dressed in a red sari. When she's preparing the tea for the guest, the girl is I pointed to bring her father's hookah. The image insists on the object hookah as a man's objects excluded to woman's sociability. It seems central and linked to the father figure, an important man of the community dressed in white and showing authority in every scene. The way the father is walking outside or inside the house is manifesting his authority, along with a voice that seems to scare the young girl. The relationship between father and daughter is stripped of any kind of tenderness and softness. The relationship is structured by duty and social order, but no other form of love is absent, except in one scene where she put her hand on her father's front to check the level of fever. It is the only moment of proximity between the father and the daughter. The rest of the film is always manifesting a distant relation. She stands in front of her father to ask the permission to travel to see her brother in Assam, a brother who already escaped the father's command, an authority condemned by her aunt who accused him of pride. The father is not arranging a wedding for his daughter and keeps the daughter with him like a bird jailed in a cage. Patriarchal relationships are filmed like imprisonment of a beautiful bird in a comfortable cage. It's the main cause of the girl's loneliness and sadness. The aunt tries to convince her brother to marry her, but the father doesn't agree. He doesn't want to marry his daughter. The action of the film is based on the father's unwillingness to get his daughter married and the daughter's apparent submission to her father. As aesthetic and staging is concerned, Kumar Shahani shows with brilliance scenes how the girl fears her father, with no words, but filming the body of Taran. So here we can go at 20, filming the feet, the art of detail. Yeah, I want to show these details. Filming the feet is, he filmed the feet, insisting on the image of the feet. He filmed the film under her sari, fearing patriarchal order is translated into images of feet or hands. The delicacy of the filmmaker is vibrant in these scenes because he shows complete respect of the body of the actress and doesn't need to oversay in detail retraction. Is filming in slow motion the retraction of her toes. And we understand how this girl is fearing her father. Kumar also uses the movement of nervous hands to show the girl embarrassment. Yeah. This image is very important because he insists on this image. like few seconds. Almost, there is almost a minute on feet and hands because I looked on the timing. So when a filmmaker insists on an image, it's for a purpose. This is not an anecdotal. There's a message. When a filmmaker insists, the message is there. And the message, to me, that's my interpretation, is fear or being embarrassed, being nervous, nervosity, and translated by the movement of the body. Also translating, and I'm going to my third point. We go to image 22. Yeah, image 22. The gender frontiers. The gender injustice and non-equality by men and women is a clear topic of the film approach with the movement. Very few dialogues are significant. The man and woman position are given by the position of the bodies. But this is in the whole cinema. Position of the bodies is something determinant in film analysis. Like when the father is discussing with his colleagues about business in the bamboo armchair, Taran is coming serving the tea. We can go to 24. See the face of the father. Very serious face. He's not smiling at all. Men are gathered and women are outside men's sociability. The gender frontier is clear. It is never crossed in the film. The man is distant and giving orders. And the sister of the Sahib has a servant attitude, but still criticizing the Sahibs in his back, who creates family tensions. So Taran is also progressively filmed with a young man of her age, with whom she is interacting with natural sense of equality. They walk aside in the sand by the railway. The railways is always there, discussing in terms of gender fairness, gender fairness, or equality, if you want. He is filmed as a friend with no domination scheme. He is not a fiancé chosen by her family, but a selected ally in her solitude. She will not speak to him with shyness, but directly, with no embarrassment. Taran will eventually join him in his construction site. He's working on the young man is working in a construction site, a rough place opposed to her aristocratic house. The way the desired is filmed between the young couple is also very respectful. That's why I said that Shahani has a female gaze, because generally women filmmakers are really respecting the woman they film. The freeze frame of the sandals of the two young lovers on the floor personifies this notion of gender equity. So we can go on 26. This image is very important because Shahani insists on the sandals very much. So the sandals of the two young lovers on the floor personifies this notion of gender equity. We understand that they are making love together with the sandals on the floor. The shoes are arranged together, both positioned on the same line. In cinema, position are key expression of your status or situation. Their sandals are the symbol of their union, and Taran, for the first time in the film, shows a shy smile. She smiles at the end of the film when she is with this young girl, and it's the only time, the only scene where she smiles, and it's a beautiful scene. that I would define as manifestation of female gaze, a way of filming the girl with total absence of vulgarity and with the softness of gender equality. It reverses completely the situation, and the love scene is a scene of liberation. Love is here a door or a window to freedom. And this is very original. The emotions of self-respect and tenderness are translated with the camera with humility and modesty in the Shahani style of austerity. So I'm leading to the point of style, and this is the 4 points of my presentation. It will treat the aesthetic, and the whole film is a perfect calculation of ornament and sobriety, almost calculated with mathematical caution. The game using colors is beautifully mastered. Everything is red and white in the film, and the dance, even the dance at the end of the movie, is also a white and red performance. Taran wears alternatively red and white saris, and it's a construction. The red color in India, but you might know this much better than me. But the red color, not only in India, but in France, in Hollywood, in America, red color is the color of seduction. And in India, red is the color of wedding and the color of desire. Kumar Shahani dresses the seduction side of Taran in red. She walks inside the house in a red sari, and she appears at the 5th minute of the movie in red sari, sleeping in her bed like a sleeping beauty from legend. In most of the scenes, we can go to image 30. Yeah, because she wears purple. In most of the scenes, she's walking and filmed from behind. She's filmed at her back most of the time, in her backside, walking in a white corridor. Her figure in red is wandering around in a slow path, manifesting expectation. In other scenes, she wears a white sari, orange and purple sari. At the railway, she's wearing this sari. According to the subjectivity of the scene, relate to some emotion. Colors. Colors are speaking about emotions. Tints, we can go to 31. Tints, shades, tone, ting are not only colors. More than colors, they offer the visual dimension of emotions. The red sari personifies the sadness, and Tara, tearful situation of an unmarried young woman. The white sari is worn while strolling outside. It encompasses the desire to go away, to escape her father's house or jail. The purple sari is a symbol of running away. She wears that vivid color near the railway like an appeal to break free. She wants to break free. But when she joins the young man that she herself has chosen to love, she wears a white sari. It's her choice to join him in his construction site. She comes to him in white sari, and white is a symbol of purity. White saris represent innocence and spirituality. Yeah, this is the scene, the beautiful scene when she's coming to join the young boy. This scene is absolutely beautiful. And whites represent innocence, spirituality. They are often worn during religious ceremonies and mourning ritual. White saris evoke a sense of calmness, tranquility, and are a popular choice for formal occasions in India. Some Hindu widows in earlier time used to wear white saris, and female prisoners also must wear white saris with a white blouse. Red sari symbolized love, sensuality, and passion. It is generally worn at weddings, festival, and births. The red sari is also wrapped around a married woman at her cremation. Red can also signify fertility. Color symbolism affects and permeates every aspect of life. The South Asian heritage is a festival of colors, like at Holi. It has a religious significance in ancient times. It used to mark socio-economic differentiators, like white for the Brahmins, red for the Kshatriya, symbolizing deities and mythical powers. Red color is thrown on the Hindu goddess Durga statue during prayer because red is used to charity and protection. So using colors in films generally is messaging something from the director, like a painter. In conclusion, the originality of the scenario stands with the female character, who is the one who drives action. Instead of wearing the red sari, she dresses in white during the love scene, choosing a spiritual white indicator rather than a red sensual mind is a sign of the director's respect for the character. Taran is leading the scene because she's the one who decides to join the boy. And she is also the one who takes the lead when she takes the young man's hands and places them on her breast. There's a scene where she takes the young man's hands and she's the one to lead action. Having women as leading characters in India during the 70s was not so common. But even in France, women were not leading action. Action was a man's prerogative in Bollywood, in Hollywood, and in the European cinema as well. The masculine character was to lead the action and to have the deciding role. Action was mannish and submission was womanish. If you let me summarize these things. So it is worth to say that Kumar Shahani demonstrates its own original modern vision of gender roles compared to other filmmakers in the 70s. That is the reason why I consider his oeuvre as unique and avant-garde in the world cinema, manifesting a unique comprehension of woman desire. The director also gives in Maya Darpan a singular and unexpected message of hope. And this is very interesting to stress, showing that a man can free a woman from patriarchal control. The young man in the film is the path to free the girl. He is the key to her happiness. And contrary to one of the many feminist theories, this freedom is the fruit of cooperation and free choice, and not the conclusion of gender war or rebellion. And I think it's very interesting because it's a female gaze not based on gender conflict. Freedom being the fruit of necessity. And the young man in the film stated earlier in the film, he said it himself, freedom is the fruit of necessity. The young man was a necessity for the girl, for winning her freedom. So the last scene takes place in a boat sliding on a river surrounded by a green Assamese vegetation. I guess it's Assam. But is it a dream or is it a reality? I think we will never know because freedom starts also in dreams. And Shahani really drives us to his world of dream with his film and cinema. And I'm finished. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you very much, Fabienne. It was such a delight to hear you. You had a very clearly structured presentation, beginning with the historical context of the film, as well as really well. In your analysis, I thought it was a very rich analysis, especially your the semiotic understanding of colors and the meanings of the colors that and the meanings that they represent in cultures, in different cultures. So it was really extremely rich. I thoroughly enjoyed your presentation. Thank you for that. Before I open it out for discussion, I just had one question to ask you, and that is, now that we TFO had a series of 3 films in this month as a tribute to the master filmmaker, and this is the 3rd and final film in this series. So I thought I could ask you something about Shahani's general a question not necessarily related to Maya Darpan, but his entire oeuvre, his very style of filmmaking. After all, he's one of the authors of cinema. He has a distinctive style. So it's common knowledge that Shahani was
what? I didn't.
Influenced by leads to some kind of an alienation, the famous alienation technique that Brecht believed in using. So because frankly, personally, I find the work of Shahani distances me emotionally. It kind of just, leaves me cold. So is this because he intends, not to involve the viewer emotionally? Is it because he wants us to have an intellectual response to cinema, and also his focus on the formalist elements, the formal elements of film? Is this what kind of, deprives the spectator of an emotional of identified character? Is it encourage the viewer to think rather than to feel?
Yes. I think, can I answer you?
Discussion.
Yeah, Gita, yes, you are very right.
Yes,
But
please. No, please go ahead.
Sorry? It's a calculation.
Please go ahead. Please
when
go
I
ahead.
see Shahani, I see a lot of Bresson, and Bresson is like that too. Bresson didn't like actors. He liked and I think his actors are not acting too much in Shahani. They don't overact and they don't show their emotions. So it goes in his way of thinking the stage and even the voice. Bresson used to have a theory, and I think Shahani and Bresson have a lot in common. For example, the voices. He likes blank voices. If you see the voices in all Shahani films, it is I speak like this. You know, when I speak, I get nervous, or I use my hands like an Italian. But in Shahani film, they speak like this, you know, blank. It is white. It is on this. There is no rhythm. It's always the same line. And this is very important to stop emotions. People, she's crying, but not too much. And even when they cry, the cries are not, it's not an eruption of sadness. Everything is under control. And in this way, he is like Bresson. You know, because of Shahani, I went to see a film of Bresson on a donkey. It's a film about human cruelty. It's the name of this film is Au hasard Balthazar. And it's Au hasard Balthazar. I don't know if you've seen this film.
Yeah.
And it's a
Yes,
poor
yes.
donkey. It's a poor donkey. Is people are torturing him. The people are so cruel with this donkey. And everything is cold. The way, I mean, he's like a dissector, he's like a chirurgien, he's like a doctor, you know, dissecting. And I think Shahani has, he likes to work on this distance. And this is maybe because I like this side because it's his world. His world is like that. This is my opinion. I might be wrong, but this is how I see, because as you said, he focused on formal elements and he wants the viewer to think more than to feel. But you feel also because the solitude, the way he films the solitude of the girl, you feel that this girl is really lonely. She's alone. Sometimes at the beginning of the film, I was thinking, is she's going to suicide herself? He doesn't take the option of suicide. He takes the option of hope and freedom. And all the first 20 minutes of Maya Darpan, you can touch the solitude. And this is really intelligent. How can you touch the solitude? And the way he touched the solitude is not by overacting, because it's back. He films the girl on the back, moving slowly, and everything is empty, and she has a stupid she takes away some dust from an armchair. She does it all the time, and the armchair is not even dirty, just to show that she has nothing to do. So yes.
Okay. Anyone else would like to come in?
Geeta, can
Yeah.
I speak?
Yes, yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. So thank you, Fabienne. It was excellent. I mean, there were so many things that I had not noticed or had not paid too much attention to. I think what you kind of put together in this presentation makes the film more intelligible to me. As you said just a few minutes ago about sound, what I noticed was the sound in this film, or the dialogues in this film, which can hardly be called as dialogues, they sound very similar to Manikal's Duvida. So which are again flat. In fact, even the same voice, I thought it was, both of them seem to have used the same voice for both the films, whether it was in the letter reading or even the fiance's voice. So all of them were so flat, and it had to me immediate echoes of Manikal's Dubidha. And as you ended it, for a long time, it seemed to me that all these escapes or escapades that she's going on to with the engineer were more things happening in her head. So
Uh-huh.
yeah, so it hardly seemed like, given her situation, it hardly seemed like it was possible, for her to take off. Partly because of this whole idea of honor and what a woman should do, should be, but also because towards the end, when she makes the choice not to go to her brother and stay back with the father, it is also a recognition of the profound loneliness and the irrelevance of the divan. So he was a formerly important person over there, but now, when he comes in, for instance, he asks other people, have the others come? So he's becoming irrelevant and lonely. And Taran is the only one I felt, who, if even she deserts him, then it will be a complete, non-recognition of someone who was an important person at one point in time. So that's how I read the film. And so she can only escape into these colorful moments of solitude with the engineer in her mind, whereas she's condemned to live this life in some sense, in some solidarity, in recognition of some sense of loneliness of the father. This is how I read the film. But your presentation was simply wonderful, Fabienne. Thanks again for giving us such a wonderful overview. Yeah.
No, thank you, Nikhila, because thanks to Shahani, I really went into Bresson films, and I like this kind of cinema. It's very imagination. She doesn't really go with this young man. We will never know, like in the boat. In the boat at the end, when she is, we don't see her in the boat, we see a boat, so the boat might be also our imagination. And of course, it's too loneliness. It's true, Nikhila. The loneliness of the father and the loneliness of the daughter, and the distance. Even they are both lonely. They have difficulty to connect. And but there is a beautiful scene when the father looks sick, and she covers the father is in the bed, and she put the blanket on her father like she's protecting him. So it's true, we will never know if she sacrifice and stay, or if she runs away with and go. And maybe we don't have to know. Maybe it's not important to know. I don't know.
Yeah, thank you, Fabienne, for your response. Any other
Yeah, Geeta, can I?
comments? Yes, Basav. Yes, Basav, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So I just wanted to express certain things. One is that, of course, both Manikal and Kumar Shahani were filmmakers who prioritize form over function, or prioritize form over narrative also, right? So both in Maya Darpan and Uski Roti, I guess you can draw a lot of parallels, because both of them have a very that pick up a story which is from that sort of Nai Kahani movement, what we call in the Hindi literature, right? So the modernist literature, which were episodic. So a small episode is kind of taken, and like in Uski Roti, she's waiting to give the bread, and in this, of course, this whole idea of marriage, etc. But the two things, one is, of course, both Manikal in his interviews and Kumar Shahani have said that they sort of saw actors as part of the mise en scène. So they, in a sense that they treat them as a prop, like rest of the objects you see in the mise en scène, right? So they are not. So hence the whole dialogue delivery, both in Uski Roti and Maya Darpan, are monotone, right? They lack emotional, or the absence of emotionality of acting, right? Because the placement of the actor, the movement of the actor is more important, is what they wanted to say than what they are saying. So like how object moving in a scene, in a mise en scène, is more important to the narrative than the sort of the if the object can speak, kind of. So it's an equivalent of treating actor as an object. Now, I mean, of course, this was their main preoccupation as an experiment. Now, and of course, also both the films deal with interiority of the female experience, because here also we are supposed to read what is going on. Like her thoughts are supposed to be shown by the film, and when she doesn't speak them or express them verbally, right? So the whole interiority is painted like a painting, and you have to read through the scene composition rather than the physical composition of the scene, rather than the verbal information that comes from saying I am sad or I am happy or whatever, right? So this was the exciting formal experimentation in terms of saying, okay, how can we externalize the interiority of thought and emotion without using the devices of acting, which is dialogue and emotional dialogues, let's say melodramatic dialogues. So both that was the formal intervention that both Mani and Kumar wanted to make. But now I think rewatching Maya Darpan and also showing it in class multiple times, I think the challenge is to really ask the question, does this experiment work? Does it really showcase, is a layperson able to watch the film and say that, oh, I understood what is her state of mind? Is the layperson able to say without reading about Kumar's ideas or reading a criticism of the film itself? So is it beyond that? Is it beyond the general reading in the sense? Because it's not, I'm not sure that, at least my students don't seem to read unless they're coached to say, look at specific things, etc., like that. But if you just watch without knowing who the director is or what the experiment the film is trying to do, I don't know if we can actually get an idea of the story or the interiority of it, more or less. So then, what does it mean? What does it mean as cinema is something of, I think, a question. Although it's inspired by Bresson quite a bit, but I think Bresson's, in my personal opinion, Bresson is a much accomplished art form compared to this. But yes, I mean, these are the questions I'm also struggling with. So I thought I'll just put it out there that if it doesn't work without knowing about this idea of the formalist nature of the film, etc., then does it really make sense to employ that strategy in filmmaking? And what does it even mean if we are doing that? Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah. Thank you, Basav.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's your observation is very pertinent. So it's interiority of female experience, and he's a painter of this interiority. But I was thinking how to externalize this interiority. He cuts the frontiers. He cuts the frontiers, dream and reality, as Nikila said. We don't know if everything is not in our imagination. And there is this poetic, the voiceover saying, "I knock at doors and no one is there," at the beginning of the film. She says, "I knock at door and nobody is there." It's the void. And the exterior and the interior is concluding and coalesce to avoid. And of course, maybe this young boy doesn't even exist. It's the void. And the railway, coming back also, is a frontier. It's external. It symbolizes external world, and it's a reality. The railway is a reality, and Shahani. That's why I like him more than Bresson. I like Shahani more than Bresson because he plays with the frontiers, and it's so subtle that I think he's a great master. Even greater than, and I don't know why he's not so known in France. And if you see Casbah is a great film also. And I think he made between...
Kasbah is probably the most accessible movie of Kumar.
Casbah is beautiful because he uses the animals for this frontier, for human, all the birds that you see and there is a donkey also, I think, in Casbah, like in Bresson, like Au hasard Balthazar. And the human, the animals are the ambassador of the humans' emotions. And Casbah is really, I think, Maya Darpan is before Casbah. Huh?
Yes.
Maya Darpan is his first film.
Yeah. Casbah is more subtle. He attains something. That's why it's so interesting to see the whole films of a filmmaker, because there is a progress in his grammar, in his way of painting interiority and exteriority. Casbah is a level au-dessus. It's above Maya Darpan in terms of language and writing. I don't know if I have answered your question, but I tried.
Yeah. Thank you. I don't think there is an answer, like a strict answer to it anyways. I think it's for all of us to think about. Yeah, because I remember Satyajit Ray wrote an article about, and he severely criticized both Manikal and Kumar Shahani's films and said that it's a waste of government money because you're making films which are not accessible, and what is this experimentation? Yeah, so yeah.
Who said that?
Satyajit Ray.
Huh?
So Satyajit Ray.
Ah, really?
Yeah.
He said that?
Yes. He's usually critical of Shahani. Yeah.
Maybe he was jealous.
Yeah, we never know. But I think his point was that this is government-funded kind of cinema. So why are we making films which will not make any money? Because these are formal experiments which won't have even get a release, or anyone, a layperson, would even understand anything of it. So I mean it's a question to sort of think about.
I didn't know that. Thank you.
Thank you, Basar. Any more comments, questions? Ajanta, would you like to comment?
Hello, I'm Murali Krishna. Can I make some points here?
Yes, please go ahead.
First of all, thanks, Fabienne, for your very good presentation. It was very insightful.
Thank you.
Now, I would like to place this film in the larger context of the political, social, and economic, cultural developments that were taking place in the 1970 decade.
Yeah.
Might be my thoughts are overstretched, but it's a fact that the 1970 decade was a decade of churnings. It was a decade of churnings. It saw the emanation of the parallel film movement, and it arrived with a bang, I can say. Now, coming to this film, I think, as per my viewpoint, Shahani depicts Taran's strained relationship with her father. We all know that, as the tension between caste and the class fixed world outlook of the feudal era. You know that old palatial building or the old mansion depicted there signifies the crumbling edifice of the feudal or semi-feudal structure of the times. And I was reminded by the showing of what you call chawl or chawl of Mrinal Sen's films. It recurs as a motif in the Mrinal Sen's film. It also shows in a way the decadence of certain value systems of that particular period. Then there are also, according to me, the individual's consciousness, that is of Taran's, fashioned by modern moorings, the modern outlook, no, it fashions her consciousness. Now, we come to the engineer friend of Taran. He highlights the change that is going to take place in that town. He refers to the leveling of hills, the ramshackled dwelling places of workers, and also that dwelling places were replaced with pakka houses. And also he says that factories will come beyond that canal. Then interestingly, he quotes Engels' description of the Hegelian dialectic, that is, the freedom is the recognition of necessity. And having heard this, Taran asks our friend, engineer friend, a question. What is a person's own necessity? To which the engineer friend replies that it is not merely a passion, but the ability to look outside of oneself and be in very wide open spaces. So that was a very telling statement of the film, I thought. So thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you for the historical context. I didn't have the knowledge of the historical. Sorry?
No, please go ahead.
Yeah, the context, political, social, culture in 1972 in India, of course, is very important. And the colonial time is not very far from there. So it's a post-colonial period, and there is a temptation of seeing modernity as something, modernity as a necessity. Yes, the term necessity is very important in the film, as you said. And the edifice I don't know why I was thinking, why do you consider the house, the edifice, the palace, it's a palace, as a decadence of that period? Why is it a symbol of decadence?
Uh,
I
No,
I
it's,
don't.
we see the, what you call, the shrinking of the structure of dismantling, almost the dismantling of the structure of patriarchy, rather the feudal times, no?
Yes,
The feudal
okay,
structure, where feudal
okay,
or semi-feudal
okay.
structure.
Yeah, right. I didn't see that. This is very pertinent. The father figure is collapsing like the edifice. This is what you mean. A collapse.
Yeah, a sort of a collapse. Yes,
Yeah.
dismantling.
Yeah. You are right. This is a good interpretation. And I don't know how was the 70s in India, 1972. Who was ruling India in the 70s?
Indira Gandhi was at the helm of affairs.
Okay.
We saw a slew of progressive reforms during that era. Bank Nationalization Act was there. There were revolutions taking place, the green, white, and the yellow revolution. There was Naxalbari movement in West Bengal and other places. So a lot of developments were taking place.
Yeah, all this is in the background. And in the film, there is something that there is some black and white scene who is a directly historical scene. It's in black and white and it's like a war. And I don't know Indian history well enough to understand what kind of war it was, this scene was connecting to.
There were voices which were saying Inqilab Zindabad. So I thought it referenced the freedom movement.
Colonial time,
Yeah.
when they kick out
Which
the,
is,
the
yeah.
British, when the British were kicked out.
Yeah.
So
So
why?
I was also not sure of what those black and white scenes were doing. I mean, what were they really referencing?
Also, and normally people would put Gandhi. So if you put Gandhi, then you understand very well. So it's a freedom. But there were bombs in the scene in these historical moments. Bombs were shown in planes. And I was thinking, did the British send bombs in India? I didn't know that. During the freedom, the war of freedom. So I was
Yeah,
not sure. Huh?
yeah, it seemed to reference the World War and the freedom movement. That's how I read it. But I was also wondering what it is doing in the film. So I don't know. I mean, in the light of Murali Krishna's reading, whether it references Naxalbari movement or what, I really have no idea.
No, the story is based just on the nascent phase after independence, isn't it? The entire story is based
Yes.
on that period. So what I'm
Uh,
meant to interpret is whether it is shown to depict the battle that is going on inside her, inside Taran.
we say in a metaphor. It's metaphorical.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah. Might be.
metaphor.
I may be reading too much. I don't know, but I felt like that.
C'est une métaphore. Une métaphore de la... A metaphor is of the war inside of her. Submitting to the father, obeying the father, or running away. So a conflict, inner conflict.
Yes, inner conflict. Yes.
Inner conflict.
Yes.
Like a interiority, as the gentleman said previously. It's interiority. He's filming our interiority, and he uses the war to materialize, to externalize this interiority. Might be. an interpretation.
Yes, yes, that might be the case.
Mm. Yeah, thank you.
That's
Any
that's
other
true, but
comments?
I think when we think of Kumar Shani or Manikol, both of them, I think the form is the story. The story really doesn't matter. You know, it's
The
I
form
guess
is the story.
yeah.
Yes,
I
exactly.
mean it's yeah. So it's
I
more
agree with
about
that.
it's more about the aesthetic and the form rather than about because the story, like you said, is in your slides. It's very simple. There's no it's just a premise to for the formal experimentation. So
Yes,
it's
there's
not
no story at
yeah
all. There is no
that's what
story.
yeah. So we have to. I think it's when I guess at least I think that when we discuss Sani or Call's work, we should talk more about their contribution to the film form rather than what the story is, because the story essentially in all of their films is quite simple, not really complicated at all.
But the war is a very important form, conflict and war.
Yes, of course, yes.
And the film is, there is no aggressivity. There is no violence in this film. Shahani is not a violent man. And the
Yeah, but
only
that's also something to think about. I think the other question there is that the cultural expression of subtlety that is used for featuring the or exhibiting the disappointment of the character or the protagonist, is that really a valid cultural expression for in the Indian context, where do we really express so subtly our complicated emotions like anger or frustration or claustrophobia and things like that? I think that's another question to ask when you adopt such acting styles where you minimize the expression completely, and you're so does it really mean so, which means that it's not realism, of course, that it is not really catering to the in real how we express anger or frustration. So yeah, I mean that's the question. Does it really justify that adoption of that style if we don't think in reality people express themselves like this?
Mm.
It's just something to think about. These are questions I battle with, so I'm just putting it out.
Any other comments, questions?
Madam, may I come in?
Yes. Yeah, please come in, Yagnashri.
Fabienne, that was really a wonderful presentation. I have a question. How do you look at the Tharan being led by the boy to a house where she drinks water and get back? Is it a kind of a distinct approach that she has taken up against what we find in the beginning, where the father grumbles about the other category of people started wearing clothes like them? Do you look at it in that way, or how do you interpret it?
I didn't understand your question. Sorry. Can you repeat in other words?
See, at one point of time, she is led by a boy to
Yeah.
to a house where she drinks water, I think, and the woman, she reacts as if she is waiting for her, and it's a kind of regular thing. And how do you look at that particular scene?
I didn't notice that scene. I
Uh,
forgot that scene.
Okay, that's okay. That's okay. It's okay.
No, but it's interesting. How did you see that scene? You know, so when we see a scene, we see it with our emotion, experience, knowledge. So please tell
Means
me,
in
what
the
did you see
beginning
in
of
the
the
scene?
Yeah, in the beginning of the movie, we find when the men sit together, they're
Yes.
complaining about the way the other sector of people started wearing clothes. And is she going against such kind of, way of looking at things with the very traditional, setup?
Yes.
I don't know whether to look at it in that way, or does it add something else to the narrative?
I don't know, but
That's
you know.
okay. Yeah, that's okay.
And
Yeah,
it's
Yagneshri is a very interesting point.
it's interesting, but you saw something I didn't see, so it's interesting. Thank you. What I saw, another scene is when she goes to the bathroom, and I took picture of that. I didn't put on the PowerPoint. There's a scene. She's cleaning herself. It's always with water. I'm thinking of it because you spoke about drinking water, but she cleans herself, and it's like she's in the bathroom. And I was thinking of Shahani. I said Shahani as a female gaze. I mean, he's so much respectful. It's the 70s, and in the 60s they were not respectful, the film director. They were doing revolution, and they didn't respect the woman when they filmed them. And he's respecting the actress in a manner that we don't even see in the French cinema during that time. But because during that time, Godard was showing Brigitte Bardot half naked and more, and the male gaze was really starting to be hard in the 60s. They were the French cinema was filming nudity in and it grew more and more horrible. In the 60s, Godard was still decent. 70s, it was worse. 80 is worse, and 90, it's horrible. It's horror, it's nudity, it's coming worse and worse. And now in Cannes, it's like a trash cinema. If you don't film horrible sex scene, lesbian scene, scenes with animals, horrible things, if you don't have trash cinema, you don't have any palm in or any prizes in the Cannes Festival. So I was thinking on this scene how Shahani was decent, very decent in the way he captured the woman interiority. But maybe this is out of your question.
Thank you, but thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Yagneshri, for your question, and thank you, Fabian. There's an interesting discussion going on in the chat box. So, Ajanta, would you like to speak? Basav and Ajanta are having a conversation in the chat box about Uski Roti and Kumar Shahani. I can just see glimpses of the chat here.
Question really is how
Yeah,
do we
about realism and
Yeah, I mean, I'm
yes.
sorry, it's just a side chat, but Ajanta ma'am can speak, I guess. I've spoken.
Okay. Ajanta, would you like to come in?
but it is sorry. There is no attempt to emotionally narrate the experience. Yeah, we spoke about this emotion, this non-emotional cinema. But I don't agree. I think this Shahani is really emotional, but his way of depicting his emotion through non-acting actors is a whole point of view. It's his world. It is the way he manifests things. The way he translates emotions. In Casbah, for example, it is through animals. Here in Darpan, it's through colors and through silence. And why film are always talking, talking, talking? I think all the silence are so interesting in the film. And emotions can be translated with silence. Sometimes silence are very powerful to translate emotions.
Any more questions, comments?
So just one last thing I wanted to say, that it's also something to discuss, I guess, in the context of this whole new wave cinema, etc., which I think Fabienne mentioned in her talk a little bit, just to understand the search for cinema, what does the cinematic medium even mean? Which seems to be the quest of some of these formalist filmmakers, because they are trying to search and sort of advocate a new language as the language of cinema, instead of the language adopted from theater, from art forms like theater, where the dialogue
Yes.
is more. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's something which is interesting, but I guess it is all um, in the. I mean, I don't know how we see this historically. What is interesting to see is that, okay, there were these experiments, but if we see historically also, it's interesting to see that none of these caught on, right? None of these attempts caught on or made a mark per se, right? Of course, Maya Darpan is probably the most celebrated of Shahani's work, but after that, not many of his films actually got a release, or even where, I mean, of course, fortunately they were supported by government at the time, but I wouldn't think that they were, I mean, they would have sort of garnered audience, let's say. So then if we think of historically, does it mean that these formal experiments were important, but they don't have a sort of what do you say, legacy which has survived through today, for example?
But it's far from an experiment. It's beyond experiment. It's a real film. It has his whole logic, his whole aesthetic. It's a piece of art, and it has to be taken in his holistic coherence. An experiment is what Godard makes. Godard made so many experimental films. There is no beginning, no end, only experimental. And I mean, it's very interesting. But I think Shahani has a beginning, a end. It's a real film. And maybe there is no audience for his film, but the audience has to be educated. So why not educating audience to see something different than even the dance at the end of the film is so interesting. They are in red and white, and it's a piece of art. And people has to be educated to see this kind of film, because they are complicated they are complicated not only to understand, but to really feel. I think the audience has to be educated, and it's the role of professors, it's the role of cinephile, it's the role of directors to really have this generosity to look at someone else oeuvre.
Yes, completely agree. And I think it has survived, of course, in academia and in cinephile circles. that those films are there. But I meant in the way we think of cinema as a historical art form. But anyways, okay, yeah, I agree with what you said. No arguments there.
Any more interventions at this point? Okay, if there are no more questions, comments, we can end this session here. Thank you very much, Fabienne, for that excellent presentation. Clearly, we can see that it has generated a lot of discussion. And thank you all for logging in. Good night and have a nice Sunday. See you next week.
Thank you, Fabian. Thank you, Geeta.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Bye.
much.
Thank you. Bye. Good night.
It was
Good
interesting
night.
for me
Bye.
to listen to you all. Thank you. Have
Good
a
night,
good
all.
weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.